It's been exactly a year to the day since I recorded this video, my thoughts on Jadon Sancho. And where are we now? Pretty much the same position. When I recorded that video, it was based on Ten Hag introducing him back into the squad after his loan spell at Borussia Dortmund, where he largely underwhelmed, which was probably no surprise to many. And look, this was after all the problems that we had seen that previous season, when Ten Hag sent him off to Holland to give him time away from the squad, away from the club, to allow him time to get his head straight, with whatever personal issues that he was going through at the time, which seemed to be clearly affecting his performances on the pitch and in training. Obviously he came back, nothing seemed to improve. So then he went out on loan to Borussia Dortmund for a couple of months, and I think I mentioned in that video he had maybe 2 or 3 decent games. The notable one being, I think it was the Champions League semi-final against PSG. And I think we all thought he was going to come back into the squad, fight for his place, and try and take that spot back off Antony, who week in, week out was playing ahead of him. And given some of the performances that Antony was putting in on the pitch, a lot of fans, me included, many of my friends and people I know, were all saying the same thing, is like, how is Antony still starting every single game? Surely Sancho is showing something in training that would make Ten Hag at the time think, yeah, I'll give him a run out. And look, ultimately it didn't happen, and we saw him go out on loan again to Chelsea this time, and it was pretty much the same old story. Not many fantastic performances for him. Largely ineffective in a lot of games. Obviously there was 1 or 2 decent performances where he contributed as well, scored a couple of goals and got involved, but largely he was anonymous, like his time at United. And now it's 12 months later, and we're still in this position again. What happens now with Sancho? Like, obviously Ruben Amorim has made it clear he is no longer required at United. He's wants to move him on. And we've seen reports over the last few weeks, teams are supposedly interested in him. I think the main team that look to be interested in him is Juventus. Seems the most likely destination for him, but I don't know what it is about him. He's just, I know there's an argument to be made that yes, he signed a contract with United, that was his wage, and he shouldn't have to take a pay cut if the club are trying to sell him. But if you're trying to restart your career, or you want to rekindle something, rekindle a love of the game, surely for your own self-worth, you'd be willing to take a pay cut and go anywhere just to play. Like you see with Antony, when Amorim came in, he went out on loan to Real Betis, and I have to say he acted like a proper professional. He's gone out there, he's got his head down, he's worked hard on and off the pitch, put in some fantastic performances for them in that league, and got player of the season for Real Betis. And now Real Betis want to sign him, and he's willing to take a pay cut to stay there. And you look at Sancho, when he was on loan at Chelsea, they had an obligation to buy him for 25 million. When it came to the end of the season, then it came out that there was a clause in that deal where Chelsea could pay a fine of 5 million to not sign him. And that's the decision they made, to not sign him. Ultimately, because they obviously offered him a contract, offered him a deal, and he refused to accept their terms. Basically, it came down to wages, unwilling to take a pay cut, and it seems to be the same no matter what team comes in from. Like, it looks like Juventus are coming in. They've apparently bid somewhere in the region of 10 to 15 million for him, which on one hand is pennies for a player that we know has talent, we know he has ability, but it's such a poor attitude. What club is going to want him? And then you take into the account that he's unwilling to budge on his wage demands. And I think it was that Galatasaray came in, were rumoured to be coming in for him, and were willing to almost match his wages. And he turned that down because he wants to play in one of the top 5 leagues in Europe. Like, he has an ego that's rivaling Garnacho at the moment, where he believes he's good enough to be playing at a top team. And no team out there wants him. So I guess this video is just about, like, where do we go from here? Yes, there's teams interested. He doesn't seem to want to budge on his wage demands. Personally, what I can see happening, and it's likely going to happen with a couple of players that we have, because of these huge wages and the huge contracts they were given under Ed Woodward. There's either going to be another loan, and we're still going to be paying part of his wage, or he's just going to rot in the reserves and continue to earn his 300 grand a week and see out his contract and leave for free. But either way, if, like, what happens then? Where does he go? He's still going to have that high wage demand no matter what happens this summer. I hope we can sell him and move him on and just almost wash our hands of him at this stage, because he's caused us nothing but grief. Like, when you consider we chased him for 2 years at Dortmund to try and sign him, and look what's come of it now. It's a shame, really, because, as I said, there's no doubting he has talent, he has ability, but when you have a player who's more willing to be up at 2 o'clock in the morning playing FIFA than look after themselves properly and put in the maximum effort on the training pitch to show the manager, show the fans, show your teammates you want to play for that football club. It says more about him than anything else. I'm hopeful that we can move him on, because as we've seen it, any more business that United do in the transfer window this summer is going to come down to sales and moving players on, and he is one of the biggest ones because of that wage. Can I see a sale happening? Possibly, but it's going to be on Jadon Sancho himself to accept a lower wage than 350,000 a week. It's a shame in one way, because it's such a waste of talent, but we just need him gone. Yeah, I just thought I'd do a quick video because, as I said, it was a year ago I made that video on my thoughts of Jadon Sancho. It's 12 months later. We're still in the exact same position. We're no better off. And we're still lumbered with a player on a massive wage who just doesn't want to play football. Let me know your thoughts. Do you honestly think we can sell him this summer? Is it going to be another loan, or is he just going to run down his contract and rot in the reserves and just wait it out and leave for free? Let me know your thoughts.
We've seen it all. We've won the